Packers fans, and welcome into the Green 19 podcast from JS Online and PackersNews.com. I'm Cassidy Hill, joined as always by Ryan and Tom Silverstein here in Lambeau Field. Midweek training camp gearing up for, guys, the first preseason game on Friday night in San Francisco. It'll be fun just to see them hitting somebody else besides each other. And we do know for a fact that Jordan Love will be starting this Friday against the 49ers, which is not a huge shock, but that he'll also probably be getting the majority of the snaps. Ryan, I want to start with you. Jordan Love particularly has shown a lot of growth in training camp so far this season. Today, it's Tuesday here as we're recording this. Aaron Rodgers took a vet day, and Jordan Love got even more of the Team 1 snaps. How has he looked just with those guys and fully running this playbook now?
Well, he's looked better than he has at any point in the last two camps. Aaron Rodgers talked about that today, too, how his fundamentals have improved. And you can see that in practice, and Rodgers has been able to see that in practice. And so he gave a lot of credit to Tom Clements, the new quarterbacks coach, the new old quarterbacks coach, who really shepherded Rodgers' early development. And he said that, you've kind of seen him take a jump. And Rodgers said that, year 2 to year 3 is a really important time for a quarterback's development. That's when you see those young guys really take a jump. And big picture, how the Packers have had this play out, it's very similar to Brett Favre when Aaron Rodgers came in. They knew that Jordan Love was going to be a project. They knew it was going to take multiple years, and they knew that they had multiple years of patience to give because Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to go anywhere. They've worked all those things out with him. So I think he's benefited from that. Now the question is how much, and I think that we're about to get a really good idea. Because like Aaron Rodgers said, practice is really important. Preseason, there's an expectation that you play well, and we haven't seen that from Jordan Love in the preseason in the past. But that's because all the defenses are vanilla. There's not a lot of blitzing. It's very different than the crucible that Jordan Love went into Kansas City last year in his first professional start, and he was blitzed by Steve Spagnuolo on basically every play. It's going to be different. So there's an expectation he plays well, so now we just have to see if he plays well.
Spoon, you asked Rodgers something today that I thought was very interesting about when you are a young quarterback and you're playing with guys that may not even be on the roster in a couple weeks. How do you sort of approach practice? And I'll let you sort of take it from there with what he told you.
Well, I was actually asked him about the games and whether it's more important to run the offense the way it's designed to be run or to move the ball up and down the field and, try to score by hook or crook, whatever you do. Because my experience in covering the Packers over the years is that the backup quarterbacks that have succeeded and become starters, guys like Ty Detmer, Mark Brunell, Matt Hasselbeck, Aaron Brooks, you'd throw them out in a game and they'd somehow figure out how to score a touchdown or move the ball. And, you got to remember they're playing with number 2s and number 3s, and guys are running the wrong assignment. And it says a lot about their competitive ability, but also what they do under fire. I think I'm really reserving judgment on Jordan Love, even based on practice, because, I did see some things that made me say he's different, but I think some of that is because the bar was so low. And then in the last couple of days, I've seen him, I wasn't at family night, but it sounded like he had a good night. And then it come back this week, and he's got some throws that I'm just, shaking my head like he can't nail them. So I think we'll find out the most about him in these games. And he's going to get, the number 2 offense. They're not going to start the number 1 offensive line, but the number 2 offense is decent enough, and he'll probably get guys like Sammy Watkins and Doubs and Juwan Winfrey, and so he's got to do something.
He's still yet to show much in the 2-minute drill too, all of camp,
right?
And that's the most football-ish drill that they have.
Yeah, the most
without playing real football
live.
That's the most competitive drill that they have in terms of real football. And we haven't seen much in that drill. His success is really he's throwing the ball better in team periods and the move the ball and whatnot. The script, going in, what the play. But the 2-minute when everything's flying fast, I haven't seen him a lot there.
Yeah, and to be fair, Rodgers hasn't either, and that might be a statement about the defense more than it is about the quarterbacks.
Although Love's going against the twos, though.
Correct. Either way, he's got to show something. He's got to move the ball. I mean, in year 3 now, he should be greater than the talent he's playing at as a first-round draft pick. And so even if guys are running the wrong route, he should be finding ways to get him the ball. And so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch in this week, and then the New Orleans practices, and then the New Orleans game. So this is kind of his playoffs and Super Bowl right now.
I'm going to jump topics a little bit just because you mentioned how well the defense has been holding up in 2-minute drills and red zone drills. Rodgers mentioned today that he almost appreciates the fact that the defense is beating them every day. And it makes sense when you think about it, but it's still a little weird to hear a quarterback say that. How good is this defense really, or are we giving them too much credit as part of that? But also as well, do we see the offense come out even stronger because of what the defense is doing to them during training camp?
I don't think we know yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
that's not a fun answer.
What has struck me through the 2 weeks of training camp is I don't see a lot of like busted coverages. I don't see a lot of really like Rodgers just finding a guy wide open down the middle, and and they're looking around, where's the coverage? Mm-hmm. To me, that's a big plus, because in training camp a lot of times that does happen, and then everybody huddles what happened. Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen that. I just haven't. Everything seems to be contested. Every time they throw a ball in the team drills, it always seems to be contested. Now, we don't know how their run defense looks, because you don't really know until they actually do it. But I would say their pass defense and their pass rush, have been solid. I just don't see a lot of mistakes.
But where we don't know specifically, so we've seen the defensive line really give it to this offensive line all camp. But we also know that the offensive line's got a lot of stuff to figure out. Yeah. And the right side of the offensive line especially it's a shrug emoji. Like, even Aaron Rodgers today said maybe the guy is outside the building that they need. I mean, the right side of the offensive line is not looking great. There's a long way to go there. And then, yeah, the corners have, I think the point you made, Spoon, is dead on about, lack of busted coverage, because we can tell that. But when the corners are locking down the receivers, as they have been, it's kind of similar to the defensive line, offensive line. What did you expect against this receiving core that we knew going in was going to be a major question and a lot to figure out? Mm-hmm. They should be. Like, the defense is doing what they should against this offense right now, but we don't know how much of that is the right side of the offensive line, the receivers, and how much of that's just the defense. It's hard to say. That's why it's going to be interesting seeing them play against someone else.
Yeah, training camp a lot of times is about individuals. So you might see, I've been surprised Eric Stokes has taken his lumps during this camp. Now, we don't know what the coverages are, but it's competitive, and, Romeo Doubs has really schooled him a few times. But within the actual defense, that's just a man beating a man. It's not a man beating a coverage. So, and the Packers are running their offense, and the Packers defense is running Joe Barry's defense. So it's not like they're not competitive and they're just allowing these things to happen.
And Eric Stokes, to me, gets the benefit of the doubt right now, because we saw him as a rookie, and he was very, very good as a rookie. I mean, you look at his defended passes; they were on par with what Jair Alexander came in as a rookie and did.
Yeah, last half of the year, or last quarter of the year, he was really solid.
So there's a sample size beyond camp for him of, okay, he's come in and played well as a rookie. So for me, he gets the benefit of that. But you're right, he has taken some lumps in camp.
But again, training camp is about individuals, and somehow the number of individuals getting beat, or the unit as a whole, is not getting beat a lot.
Speaking of taking lumps, we saw Romeo Doubs go versus Jair Alexander in one-on-ones earlier this week, and had a little welcome to the NFL moment for the rookie a couple of times. But after that, Roger spent a lot of time with him. He said he had lunch with him yesterday. They went over it. Last week as well, I caught a moment in the locker room. I was standing there talking to Kenny Clark, and Romeo Dobbs' locker is next to his. And Jair Alexander came over, pulled Romeo to the side, and was just talking to him like very calmly about some of the plays that Romeo had that day, what Jair saw and what he could do different, and just, gave him some tips and pointers. That's an all-pro corner seeking out a rookie. Moments like earlier this week with those 2 and 1-on-1s where Jair really got the better of Romeo all 4 times is only going to make him better, as Roger said. That being said, Jair really got pumped up about it from what it sounds like. And I know I didn't get to see all of it.
That is a standard that has been passed on, and Davante Adams passed that on to Jair Alexander, and now it's Jair Alexander passing it on. Davante Adams would talk constantly about going up against each other and what he was trying to do. And Aaron Jones early in camp, I watched him, and he practically chased down Quay Walker to talk about a play they just had. And I went and asked him about it. And he's like, I had been beating him on this route, and this time he played it perfectly. And I wanted to let him know that he had played it the way he should play it, and this is what we're trying to accomplish. So if they're getting that kind of leadership, faulty equipment here.
Breaking our equipment over here.
If I guess I'm not down to my playing weight because I'm breaking this chair.
These are like the least comfortable chairs that I've ever sat into.
I'm comfortable. I'm not crazy.
I don't,
Do not try this at home. We are professionals.
Yeah. So anyway, I think there is a sense of, amongst the veterans, like, hey, this is a team we want to win. And we want to win now, and you guys, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to help you.
Well, what did we see yesterday from Romeo Dobbs getting thrown off the field by Aaron Rodgers during the 2-minute drill because Aaron Rodgers didn't want to clock the ball.
Yeah.
And Romeo Dobbs thought it was going to be clocked, and he wasn't ready. But then I thought it was interesting that Rodgers said today that he didn't mention throwing him off the field, wasn't asked about it, but just in the middle of an answer said he followed up with Romeo Dobbs yesterday about something, and we know what the something was, and told him this is the time to have those mistakes. Like, it's okay. Like, it's better now than September and October. So, and I also thought it was very interesting that he said that Romeo Dobbs missed a block or and
blocked the wrong guy
when he's
because he was tied up with Jair.
Right. When he's having all these splash plays in the passing game, it's easy to forget that he is still a rookie, and that the splash plays are a talent, and he's looked really talented coming in for a 4th-round pick, but getting used to blocking at this level is part of the job too, and we don't see that as much. It's harder to evaluate that than, splash play, another touchdown. He just mossed Kabion Ento again. It's easier to see those things.
And getting a valuable blocker is really how Alan Lazard sort of made his mark on this team.
Yes, it is.
And getting chewed out by Rodgers is is a ritual. It's a rite of summer. And Pete Doherty and I were laughing about this because he said after practice he went up to Romeo Dobbs and he was like really down and out. And Pete and I were like, well, welcome to playing with Aaron Rodgers, dude. I mean, this is going to happen every week.
Well, and Rodgers said today that it's a good thing. Like, if I'm not talking to you and not coaching you up, that's bad because then you don't exist.
Yeah.
But if I'm chewing you out and coaching you up, that means we need you. Like, it's for a reason. So it's actually that's the fact that he was chewed out by Aaron Rodgers and thrown off the field. It wasn't that, he's discarded now. It's you're going to be in this situation when the game is on the line, and I expect that of you. And it's teaching him. It's a good thing. It's a good sign for Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, maybe Josh Myers needed to go over there and give him a hug. Dude, it's like, just roll your eyes and go on, and move on because he's gonna hit you on something, at some point.
And really, the fact that Jair Alexander was so pumped about beating him in those one-on-ones tells you what Romeo Dobbs has been doing to these corners in these drills.
Well,
too.
Brian pointed this out too, and I didn't quite see it, but Alexander, Dubs had beaten him on a corner route and one-on-ones from the slot, but Alexander was really, because you could tell they were walking and talking, and I thought he was just talking trash, but you're telling me that he's like, you can't do that. He pushed off, right?
OPI.
Yeah.
Well, for me, when we saw that matchup in one-on-ones, it was like, okay, Romeo Dobbs been schooling every other corner, and we talked about how many plays he's made against Eric Stokes. It was like, okay, it's time to put it into this. Let's see what you really got. So now the All-Pro corner comes over, and
it's out of the slot too.
Yeah,
he moves into the slot, and then after that happened, he kicked Cabianento like two plays later. He's like, get out of here. I'm taking Sammy Watkins here, and then he just went in and practically picked the ball off. So he was just. It was fun to watch. That was a fun.
The kids say he was on one.
Yeah. He had a burr up his saddle or in his saddle or whatever.
And he ended up going 4-0, and the first rep was a deep ball to Alan Lazard that he covered perfectly.
And the other guys did pretty well too. LaFleur pointed that out on Tuesday that drill was really good, and it is a great drill to watch. I like it better than the offensive line. I used to always watch the offensive line drill. Now I like the corners versus receivers.
I've been alternating. One day big guys, one day that drill, just trying to get a more of a lay of the land.
Yeah, I should be doing that too, but I'm always drawn to the corners.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I know there's no Tay Adams anymore, but that's still it's an electric group of corners for sure. It's an exciting group of receivers. Like it's going to take all of them to sort of replace what Adams did, but they've got enough pieces there to make it exciting.
Well, I wouldn't say that yet. You're going a little too far to say that they've got the pieces, because we don't know that
Romeo. A lot of pieces.
Romeo Dobbs has looked good, and I think he's going to be in the rotation, no matter what. But when this thing starts, and he's facing just really solid corners, and MVS found that out as a rookie. All of a sudden, he had some success, and then all of a sudden it'd be a desert for a little while, because he's got to learn about how to do this. Sammy Watkins, I'm not convinced he's going to make the team yet. I don't have that sense yet.
My guess would be yes, but it's a guess, and I think he's awfully close to that. But he's got to play his way on. It's way early to know.
I haven't seen a lot of big plays out of him. No. I think there's going to be some guys who aren't on the roster who are on the roster after September, whatever. So I am less inclined to say that their receiver group has the people to get this done. I think they have a group of guys that they're kind of waiting to see. And the fact that Dubs has come forward is a big deal for them.
The point about having a lot of pieces is the reality is they don't need a lot of pieces. Because, I mean, as Aaron Rodgers was telling you today when you asked about, the bottom of the receiving depth chart, what they can do to win him over, they ain't playing with him. 5, 6, if they keep 7, they're not playing with Aaron. Those are special teams jobs.
Yeah.
So what they need is 4. They need a good depth chart of 4 guys that they can count on, and they're trying to find. I don't know if they're there yet. I don't know if they have 4 yet. But it's like
last year. Imagine last year, Juwan Renfrey. The only way he got on the field was when Cobb got hurt and Devontae Adams had COVID. And so he was forced to play. Otherwise, you didn't really see much of him. Same with Amari Rodgers. So. The 5, 6, he's right. Those guys, you need a solid 4. You got to have 4 good guys. And it used to be more important to have 4, but LaFleur never plays 4 wide receivers. He plays 3 receivers and a tight end. He always wants a tight end in the game. So
he does a lot of 12 and 21 too.
Yeah.
So a lot of 2 backs, 2 tight ends.
You don't have to have a ton of wide receivers. You just better have. It's good to have at least 3 good ones.
I asked Alan Lazard yesterday, and LaFleur and Rodgers, what is your ideal number to have? The number that's floated out the most is around 5, or a minimum of 5 up to 7. I wouldn't be surprised if they carry 7 this year, just based on they're not sure. There is no clear-cut wide receiver 1, so no one's really emerged. And
they've done it before.
But if you don't have a clear-cut 4, let's say you have 3 good ones, and you have 4 mediocre guys. Well, or developmental guys, what team is going to carry those guys? You put them on the practice squad, or if there's one guy you think has a chance to be okay, like Alan Lazard was on the practice squad for a while. You have to make sure that the guys you're keeping are legitimate NFL players and not just because you drafted them.
At every position.
Yeah, at every position, right. And can they help you now? So special teams will be a big deal there. Like Juwan Winfrey plays special teams. So and
they seem to really like him the past week or so, Rodgers especially.
Yeah, and he plays, I believe, as a gunner, and he's on the rush team on punt return. So he's carving a place for himself, even if he's not a top 3 receiver.
Not to repeat you, but the reality is that 5, 6, and 7 most likely are all clearing waivers. I mean, every team in the league feels like it's got depth, and they like their guys, and that's the whole thing. For a guy to get claimed at the end of camp, it has to be a team with a position of need, and they like this guy so much more than their own guys. Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. 5, 6, and 7 are probably getting through waivers. What determines that is not anything that they really do on offense. It's, can they play special teams for you? Can they be teams guys? Yeah. And if what determines if they keep 5, 6, or if the number 7 is whether or not you have 3 guys that can play teams, or you only have 2 guys that can play teams. How many of those guys can play teams?
And how many of them are draftees? So, like last year, okay, they kept Adams. They had to keep Cobb because Rodgers demanded it.
Right.
Okay. Then they had Lazard, and then they had MVS. So they took up 4 spots. Then you have Amari Rodgers. You're not going to cut a 3rd-round pick. So he's all of a sudden you've got 5. I think they kept Juwan Winfrey. I can't remember. Did he make the original 53?
I can't remember either.
Anyway, he was on the 53 at some point, and so you keep him because he plays special teams, and there you're at 6 already. So their draftees are probably like Toure might be a guy who makes it just because he's a draft pick.
Well, teams. He's got to play teams.
Yeah. If I had to guess, and this is somewhat significant because there is the first round of cuts coming this weekend after San Francisco.
Is it after this weekend or after New Orleans?
No, I'm pretty sure it's after this weekend. Let me double check.
They got to go down, 75?
No. They go 90 to 85, 85 to 80. It's after the preseason. It's like there's 3 rounds, and it goes after the preseason games.
Yeah.
I thought the first round was this week.
It could be. I haven't really. I should know it, but I
should know
honestly
it too.
Don't really. Those first 10 cuts don't really mean much. No.
So the first one will come on Tuesday, August 16th. That's next Tuesday.
Okay.
They have to be from 90 to 85 by Tuesday. So essentially after San Francisco. And then they'll go from 85 to 80 after New Orleans, 80 to 53 on August 30th. That'll be the big one.
Mm-hmm.
All of that to say, first round of cuts will come after the game this weekend. So it's a small cut, but still.
I could pick 5 guys to go right now, and I don't
10 guys.
really want to say who they are. But
right. All of that to say, I could see them carrying 7 because of what guys can do on special teams as well. They're not ready to give up on Amari Rodgers. They like Juwan Winfrey. I think they keep Sammy just as long as he doesn't screw the pooch in the next week or 2.
Well, he's not giving you much special teams. That's what hurts Sammy walking.
He's the kind of guy, too, you could cut and bring back on the practice squad.
And then probably put Samori and Danny Davis on the practice squad.
Oh, you're talking about when you said Sammy, I thought you were talking about Samori. Samori. I was thinking of Samori Toure. They could cut him and bring him back. Yeah. Sammy Watkins, that's going to be the one to watch, And
he's Devin Funchess, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's someone better, if they decide, they're going to go after Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that, maybe they do that. I don't know. We'll see.
Odell Beckham Jr., just for the record, has tweeted out to Von Miller asking if the locker next to him is open. So could have to play
in Buffalo, right? Is that
Buffalo.
Where Von Miller is?
He's in Buffalo, which Packers will play this year. Okay, we went down a long rabbit hole there with Romeo Doubs and receivers. Let's get back to this weekend. there are, of course, some position battles that are pretty set. Jordan Love's clear-cut number 2. That offensive line is up in the air. You don't even know who the first-team offensive line is really across the board. But what are the position battles that the two of you will be watching the most, or the particular units you'll be watching the most on Friday to kind of see who separates themselves, who maybe takes a step back? Spoon, I'll start with you.
Of course, the offensive line I'll be looking at, right tackle, left tackle, see how Josh Nijman does, see how I assume Royce Newman will start, but I don't know that for a fact. See how Zach Tom does at right tackle, the rookie. He's gotten a number of snaps there. Cole Van Lanen's gotten a few snaps there. So that'll be a position. I also kind of want to watch some outside linebacker stuff. I'm wondering, I've seen Jonathan Garvin have some really nice plays in the practice. Now I want to see if what I'm seeing is legitimate or if that's just he happened to have a few good plays.
Before you jump in, let me ask you a question about Royce Newman. Do you think he's just there as a stopgap right now?
You know what? It's so up in the air. Without knowing what David Bakhtiari's status is, that's where it all sort of starts. I mean, I think they're prepared to play without him if they have to. I think we talked about this in the last podcast. I think it all comes down to Elton Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Elton Jenkins is the X factor. He's going to go in the weakest position or the most important weakest position. So if it's left tackle, he's going to play left tackle, and they'll bump Josh Nijman to right tackle, and then you won't have to worry about Royce Newman. He'll either be the guard or Jake Hansen will be the guard or whatever. If Bakhtiari comes back and can play, then you got the left tackle, and Josh Nijman, again, bounces back to right tackle. So there's just so many combinations, but they need to find out whether Royce Newman can start if they need him.
Well, I think if you assume right now, as I do, that Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari are going to be on PUP to start the season.
Right.
They're basically looking at two combinations right now, and I emphasize right now because it's a long way to go and it could change, and I don't know that either of these combinations have really jumped off the field. But they're looking at basically two combinations. It's Zach Tom at right tackle and Royce Newman at right guard, or it's Royce Newman at right tackle and Jake Hansen at right guard. That's what we've seen predominantly, which gives you an idea of how far they've got to go on the right side.
Could be Zach Tom and Jake Hansen.
Could be. If Royce Newman plays his way into that.
Yeah.
I tweeted about this today. I mean, it's a long way to go, and Royce Newman needs to earn that. But you've seen 70 kind of go back and forth, and right now it's been Zach Tom against Jake Hansen at two different positions. But that could change. Yeah.
So you're right about Elton Jenkins for sure will be on PUP. And then Bakhtiari is the wild card. Is he going to be on PUP? Is their plan to try to trot him out there for the last preseason game? Or I don't know. It's total mystery for as far as we know.
Can you play somebody in a preseason game if they're still on PUP?
Once they play, then they're off PUP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you can't put them on PUP to start the season. So, that could be part of it. Maybe they just wait till the week of practice and practice him. Once they start practicing him, he's off PUP.
But then you can practice while on PUP in the first 4 weeks.
You can't practice until, 3 weeks?
So you get a free week of practice there.
I think so, yeah. The rules change.
It changed.
All I know is that he to determine whether you're going to play him, once you practice him, then you're going to have to make a decision on, he can't stay on PUP forever. I mean, he'll go to injured reserve if you decide he's done for the year. So at some point they got to try Bakhtiari. When is it? That's the question. Do they do it at the end of camp? Do they do it after 4 weeks of being on PUP?
I did look up, because I was looking up last night if the PUP counted against the 53.
No.
And it does not.
Oh.
But they changed a lot of the PUP rules this year. And so, I know we're all still kind of trying to figure it out. We talked about offensive line, but is there another unit as well, Ryan, that you're wanting to keep an eye on Friday?
Safety depth, third safety with Darnell Savage out. That'll be interesting. It's been Vernon Scott, but I think Vernon Scott, Daniil, I can't say his name. Levitt?
Levitt.
Dallin
Dallin.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Dallin Levitt.
I can spell it. No, Dallin Levitt is a guy that they brought in from a lot of experience with Rich Bisaccia and with the Raiders. So he's a guy that's going to be in the mix. Sean Davis, he's a guy that's been in the mix for that. So there's a long way to go for that third safety job, I think. I think there's a big question on defense, though, and it's not as much a depth chart, but it's kind of depth charty. I talked with Rasul Douglas over the weekend, and he was pretty adamant that he really is enjoying nickel. It's a position he's never played before. And you think about it, he resurrected his career last year. He came from the practice squad to be a Pro Bowl type guy in a half season. And he'd been searching for a home for a long time. There's a reason why he was very interested in staying in Green Bay, because he's tried it many other places and hasn't found the right fit. Finally finds the right fit, and then he's asked to start all over again. Go play this position you never played before. And now he's enjoyed it so much, he said that I hope I get to stay here. That's what he wants to be, the nickel week in and week out, which is effectively a starting job. But just wanting to be it every week is different than being it every week.
It's a hard position.
Yeah, we just don't know yet. He wants that, but we don't know yet. So I think that will. I don't know how much he's going to play in the preseason. He's Rasul Douglas. He's a starter. I don't know how much all these defensive starters want to play in the preseason. But it's going to be interesting to see if that sticks.
Yeah, in week one, are you going to slap him against Justin Jefferson? It was one play, but today, Dobbs just smoked him on a corner route, and it was eye-popping because Douglas was way behind him. I don't know if that says that he can't work the slot. Joe Barry plays a lot of zone too. Maybe Douglas can survive there, but I just know that on the outside, to me, he was so smart about how to use the sideline, to his advantage. And I just wonder if he's going to have to wind up back there and Alexander's going to have to play, in the slot.
He doesn't want that, though. No. I even asked him specifically, and I didn't put it in my story, but I asked him specifically, Justin Jefferson's slot week one, who covers him? He said, me.
Yeah.
I'm the nickel.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a say in it.
I know, so, but that's where his mind is.
They're not going to let Justin Jefferson have 200 and whatever yards he had from last time.
Something ridiculous, yeah. The safety one for sure is one that I would want to be watching. Who is in that 3-4 spot, maybe even 5. And then, not to sound like hip and cool, and let me throw out a different answer, but I think it is actually very intriguing what they're going to do at long snapper, because let's be honest, guys, neither one of them are great options. Does one of those guys separate themselves? Neither guy has had a consistent day yet. There were low snaps. There were off snaps. I think Rich Bisaccia at one point was snapping today just in a drill. It was probably just to let the other guys get some work on their own. But I don't think they even know what they're going to do there yet. And you don't think it's a big deal until it becomes a big deal, like it did versus San Francisco. So that's something they've got to get shored up.
Yeah, I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. I know that the kicker they've had has missed a number of field goals. I don't know if that's because
Mason
of
Crosby's
the snaps.
best job security right now.
Yes, yeah, I guess I'll notice it more when I see Mason Crosby out there. I haven't noticed it when O'Donnell's been punting. Like, there have been a lot of bad snaps. Have you seen bad snaps in the punt drill?
There was one on family night in the punt drill.
That was a low one.
O'Donnell really had to reach for it, and he ended up shanking it because it was a bad snap.
Okay. Yeah, that is a position I'm sure they're going to be on the lookout.
Well, Brian Gutekunst said that whenever you're a specialist, you know that you're not just competing against the guys in the roster, but everyone else in the league. Yeah. You're competing against everyone else outside the building. So they're aware of that.
Could be a veteran spot that somebody comes in to take. Guys, just last note before we start to wrap up here. In relation to preseason games, you asked Aaron Rodgers today, Ryan, if he would play in any preseason games, and he had an interesting answer, especially in relation to what happened versus the Saints week 1 last year.
Well,
so I'll kind of let you take it from
because Matt LaFleur hasn't shut the door on Kansas City being an option. Aaron Rodgers has not had preseason snaps since Matt LaFleur was hired. His last preseason exposure was 7 snaps week 2 in Pittsburgh of the 2018 preseason. It's been years since he's done that, and we all know how Aaron Rodgers feels about preseason snaps, and that has not changed. In case you're wondering, no, he said he doesn't see anything beneficial from it.
Unless he plays more than one series, I think he said,
Well,
right?
he's
like he doesn't want to go in there and play one series and then be pulled out.
He made it clear that he doesn't see a benefit to playing preseason snaps, but if you do, don't just do it for 4 plays, run it and punt.
What did he say? If I'm going to play, we're going to play.
Yeah, either play significant snaps or don't play at all. Don't take a half measure is basically what he was saying. And the other part of that is you don't know if Kansas City's going to play its starters week 3. I mean, what's the benefit of having Aaron Rodgers the starting offense run up the field against the Chiefs backups, you know? So the interesting thing to me is that by the end of last season, it was very easy to forget how the season began. And now that the opener's coming up, it's like the 1-year anniversary of what was the most lopsided opening loss in decades for this team, 38-5 or 38-3, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, that happened. Maybe something else, but why would you change anything? Because the reality is that the whole plan last year was to, even at the cost of maybe week 1, preserve players' bodies, and have it for the long haul, be fresh for the long haul. And by the end of the season, they locked up the 1 seed without even needing to win in Detroit in the finale. They had it locked up going into the final week. Yeah. So you could say that the plan worked.
I would that against Minnesota?
Well, it worked, but they lost a lot of guys to injury last year. I mean, a lot of key guys.
But they were still the 1 seed.
Right. Yeah, your point is well taken. The question is, did being all soft in camp really make that much of a difference for the long haul of the season? I think the best point Rodgers made was either way they lose, because fans will say, like the New Orleans, like, it should have played in the preseason, and then if they play in the preseason, someone gets hurt, they'll be like, well, what are you playing your guys for? And that's exactly true. I think you stick to what you believe is the most important thing. And I do think that LaFleur is going to view the Vikings game different than the New Orleans game, because it's a division game. And I don't think he wants to lose that game. And I do think he may play Rodgers some in that Kansas City game. If not Rodgers, then the starters. I think he'll play the starters some in Kansas City.
Sure seems like it.
Throw Lazard out there, Mercedes.
Sure, and the defense too. Don't forget the defense. Those guys need to play a little bit too.
What I'm wondering is, what starters will we see on Friday night? And
I see them on the sideline in street clothes.
I think you'll see. Do you think we'll see Josh Nijman?
Yes,
I think we'll see Josh Nijman. I don't think we'll see Allen Lazard, the running backs, obviously Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we'll see anybody on the defensive side.
No, I don't think so either.
Maybe Quay Walker?
Quay Walker needs to play.
Starter, but I think Quay Walker might play. He's kind of a starter.
And to your point, do you throw Rasul out there just to get him game reps at nickel?
That's a big question.
Maybe.
It's a big question.
He probably wants to play.
Yeah.
You don't throw Alexander out there. You don't throw Stokes out there. You don't throw Amos. Savage, we already know, is not playing. Kenny Clark, you don't play.
Campbell.
Even Dean Lowry, I wouldn't play, or Jerron Reed, I wouldn't play. So, yeah, we're going to see. He said Wednesday's practice, a lot of guys aren't going to be doing stuff. We're going to see a whole bunch of veterans on the sideline, and a lot of guys who probably won't be on the team.
So, Josh Nijman, I think you'll see John Runyon play. I think you'll see Josh Myers.
Do you? I don't think you'll see Runyon. I have a feeling.
Runyon
I kind of feel like he's locked in. Yeah, Runyon and Myers.
I feel he is too.
Are locked in at
young
their
guys.
positions. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't have a problem doing it, but I'm guessing what LaFleur would do.
Josh Nijman is is locked in as a starter on one side of the
That's
ball.
true.
The other.
Maybe he doesn't play.
And he
either.
played half a season at left tackle.
The idea is, do you want to give Jordan Love the best
Right.
possible scenario to be successful?
That's why I'm wondering if you see Runyon and
Maybe
and Myers.
maybe for a
I think that'd be
series or
interesting.
two, yeah.
But other than that, yeah, and Walker. So you're talking, you can count them on one hand, basically, the starters you want to see Friday night.
We don't have to dive into this. You can just give me a quick hitter answer. A couple of months ago, we were talking about them using Jordan Love in the preseason to up his trade value. Do you think that's still the case?
No, I mean, unless he just turns it around and looks like Tom Brady or something. Yeah, but no, I don't think, and they don't have a backup. The only thing they would do is if they know someone's available, some veteran is available that they can bring in. But I think that's past. I think that was like a draft time thing where if they could get some team to give up a decent draft pick, they would trade him, and then they'd figure out how to get a backup. But I think that's past.
I think the whole idea was if they could develop another backup that could take his place on this roster, and to me that was always incumbent on Kurt Benkert developing in this system and being a guy that you felt okay with being a backup for a couple weeks if need be. And so once they released Kurt Benkert, that ended. I mean, now it's Jordan Love's got to be the backup.
Yeah, I mean, and Danny Etling, I mean, he's not going to be the backup. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to be on the 53-man roster, but he's got a nice arm. I mean, he really, you can see what they liked in him. He's, got a lot of accuracy issues, but he looks like an NFL quarterback because he can throw. So, he's a practice squad guy that they could continue to develop. But I just don't think at this point they can trade Jordan Love. They just can't. Yeah. It would really put him in a precarious situation.
Last thing before we sign off, Spoon, I know you got to spend the weekend in Canton and watch Leroy get enshrined there. How was that?
It was phenomenal. It was so, I've gotten to know Leroy from doing the 5 questions and X's and O's, not to mention covering his entire career. But to see his family there, he's got a lot of extended family, and he called every single one of them up at his party. It was really, really something. And to see him I just think it was such a big moment in his life. And it was cool to see some of the guys from the 96 team. I thought there should have been more. I was kind of disappointed that there weren't more guys from that team, but they might come to when his number is put up on, or his name is put up on the board.
Certain quarterback there.
Yeah, let's not go into that. Whatever. So I think it was a great event for him, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting when we do 5 questions and X's and O's.
Congrats to Leroy. That was really cool. And really cool for him as well to have all of the Jacksonville guys there, just because that's where he's from. So I know they loved it too.
Yeah, old Gene Frenette, from the Jacksonville Times-Union, who covered Leroy in high school, and was telling a story about how he used to field punts at their high school practices or catch. He'd jump in, and I was like, "Gee, don't admit that." But Gene's he is an icon in Jacksonville journalism history, newspaper history, and so he covered Leroy and Edgar Bennett at Lee High School and saw some really good football back then.
Yeah. I was listening to Leroy's speech, and having lived outside of Jacksonville for so long, became familiar with the area, so it was really cool to hear him shout out Corky. And I was trying to explain to one of the other media members here, it's like Corky's an institution in Jacksonville. So
and just died recently, right?
He did not realize that Leroy had played for him, but I guess that makes a lot of sense. So
I know we're going on too long, but he told a good story about how good they were, and one of their rivals was Escambia. And Emmitt Smith played for them. And then Michael Irvin shouted out how Leroy has been a thorn in his side going all the way back to Florida State and then Dallas, and so there's all these connections with these guys. It was too bad Edgar Bennett couldn't be there. He was a high school teammate and pro teammate, but I guess he had to be back in Las Vegas. So anyways,
yeah, we did get off track. Let's pull it back to Green Bay here as we sign off. As we said, they will be playing San Francisco 49ers first preseason game on Friday. Kickoff at 7:30 Central. I'm thinking
7.
Oh,
San Francisco?
7:30.
I think it's 7:30.
Because it's 5:30 Pacific time, I remember.
Better
saying.
figure
You guys
that
keep
out.
talking. I'll let you know here in a minute.
Better figure that out.
I'd be willing to put money on it that it's 7:30 Central kickoff.
Look at you gambling. You've been hanging out with me too much.
I will bet you a Diet Dr. Pepper at a 7. I won me a Diet Dr. Pepper today because one of our friends here, another colleague in the media, has never seen the movie Princess Bride, and that is Aaron Rodgers' favorite movie. And so one of her coworkers said, "I bet you $1 to ask Aaron Rodgers about it." And I said,
Like I said, 7:30. I told you
Yay!
guys.
I was just
Glad
like
I had
the
that
record,
right.
Like the record show, Ryan and I were right. Anyways,
I said 7:30. You can roll this back.
Roll the film.
It's on film.
I'm gonna do that. Anyways, and I said, forget $1, give me a Diet Dr. Pepper. And I asked him about it, and let's just suffice to say, after I asked Aaron Rodgers about it, Adriana has some homework to do this weekend.
Well, I'm very glad that you finally got that Diet Coke.
Diet Dr. Pepper. I've been trying to get people to bring me one for weeks.
You offered me $5 million, and
I offered you
couldn't.
$6.
Oh, same thing.
Anyways, as we said, we have gotten off track here. Friday, 7:30 kickoff versus San Francisco. We'll have full wrap-up coverage for you.
Yeah,
from that
unfortunately,
game.
we won't be there.
We won't get to be there, yes, unfortunately, but we will be watching, covering, and then the guys will be back here the following. They'll practice on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yes. So
Mhm.
stay tuned to PackersNews.com for full coverage. For Tom and Ryan, I'm Cassidy. This has been the Green 19 podcast from JS Online and PackersNews.com.